Hello Voyages, post here. Some time ago, Arman was finally released in the Taiwan server, marking the end of the Luccian arc. And with Selene's sweet downtime, this is the perfect time to take a step back, get a good look at what's coming, and pick and choose the best units that will lead up our pools. Before we begin though, a quick reminder that free-to-play players can expect around 38 pools between a banner and the other, while monthly card and battle pass buyers will see this number go up to 47 and 50 pools respectively. At the same time, the average cost for a new unit is around 75 pools, but if you want the absolute guarantee that you can get the character you like, you should be saving 180 pools total. Personally, I've been trying to build this umbrella as a safety net, on top of which I would want to keep 80-ish pools to spend, and with a little bit of luck, I can't complain about my collection. And with this, let's dive straight into the element's second half. Selina has just been released, an AoE damage focus seeker with a pretty neat mechanic letting her recast her skills for free and upgrading them for more damage. As a generic damage dealer, however, she has a lot of competition. For simple AoE damage there's Camelot, Ciri and Nydia, for magic AoE damage there's SP Samantha, Nangol, Luvata and Triss. If you already have any or any combination of the above, it's probably for the best to keep saving your pools. Next up, Yeganeh. Her trait lets her summon a prism crystal, around which her whole kit revolves. It inherits her stats and shares 50% of her damage taken. Seems like only one prism can be active at any given time, and if it's killed, it can only be resummoned once. This prism has 4 stacks of refraction, starting at 3 stars, and each stack can be spent for an attack towards a random enemy after the prism is hit or commanded to do so. Other than buffs for her prism, she also comes with some defensive supports for other allies under the form of heal block removal, shield and damage reduction buffs. Kaleidoscope of Light with 10 liberation stacks can inflict magic defense down 3 before commanding the prism to spend all its 6 charges, while also boosting the damage of its attacks. Too bad this damage gets halved if the prism keeps attacking the same target. Personally, I kind of dig summoning units, but I don't think she brings enough to a team. Might be a skip for me. Heshan comes in with a dual mode kit, being able to switch between Verdant Melody and Withering Lament, with the rest of his skills having different effects based on which mode he's in. Verdant Melody is for healing and buffing. It's a maintenance skill which consumes 1 energy each turn to heal all allies within 3 tiles for 20% HP and buffs them with crit 2 and crit damage 1. Withering Lament on the other hand has a 4 tile radius and inflicts a level 2 debuff and heal reversal to 3 random enemies, before healing them for 40% of his own attack and applying 1 stack of infection. We've got a harm assist on our hands. His Homecoming Bugle aura increases the crit rate by 20% and crit damage by 5% to all allies in a 4 tile radius, and if these allies have liberation, they gain an extra 10% and 5%. Additionally, if being attacked by enemies with heal reversal, the damage taken is reduced by 25%. Healing Rhymes also allows him to give 5 liberation stacks to another unit, while Forest Variations can inflict heal reversal and a 120% healing to an enemy regardless of stance. 50% crit rate and 20% crit damage buff to all nearby units is enough to get him in high priority, this buff going higher for elements, and the fact that heal reversal for the enemies is absolutely hilarious are just the cherries on top. And then there's her. I have been saving for her since she was first revealed 6 months ago, her emulating beauty torturing my soul each passing moment I have to spend waiting. Shanaz converts liberation stacks into her own fate points, which she consumes to enter and maintain an enhanced status which boosts her stats and skill effects. Her kit revolves around pushing and pulling units around, dealing massive amounts of magic and collision damage. Destiny Twist marks an enemy, after which you can choose whether he attracts or repels other enemies nearby. She can also buff herself and one ally with damage 3, attack 2, +1 range and knockback immunity, while reducing the damage that she deals to other allies to just 1 point. This friendly fire is a bit of a new mechanic, but will trigger quite a few reaction skills. Lastly, the Black Hole. 3 tiles radius, 3 waves of damage, each pulling the enemy towards the center, dealing lots of collision damage or pulling them into pits or on traps. As an aggression unit, she also gets buffed by SP Samantha's leader skill, and since we're heading towards Luccia next, I can foresee plenty of ice tiles, increasing knockback distances even further. 180 pools saved up for the guarantee. Anyone else will have to rely on spares and luck. Lastly, Kianshir closes the Element chapter, another summoner, bringing Imperial Immortals into the fray as non-controllable units. Each of them lasts for 2 turns before exploding, much like Safia's Hangman, but Kianshir gets to summon quite a few of them, one at the start of a turn, with more with his talent skill, and can order them around to charge at enemies or cover for allies. When they die, the summons also recover some liberation points for him. He also has a leader skill specifically for summons, adding another 20% crit rate for them. Again, I'm a bit of a sucker for summoners, and bringing in 4 more units and overwhelm the enemies with a wave of bodies seems really damn fun. Too bad Luccia starts right after, so Kianshir might get the short end of the stick, as I will likely have to recover from Heshan and Shanaz. Another skip. And now we take a trip to the frozen lands of Luccia. Laying down the welcome mat is Anna, another breaker. Seems like combat roles keep getting mixed up, cause she's a ranged one wielding a crossbow. Like other breakers, she ignores block, and her trait lets her ignore part of the enemy defense. If she's not in alert at the end of her turn, she gains it for herself, attacking up to twice per round in a 4 tiles range. She also gains some stack of multiple burst, which can be consumed by her skills to inflict additional hits. In her skill 3, In the Name of the Dead knocks the enemy back before buffing her alert with +1 tile, +1 proc, and +50% damage. A focus skill marks a target and grants her up to 40% more crit rate when performing an alert against them, and a selection skill lets her choose between one of 3 arrows to attack the enemy with: extra hits, disabling nature guard, or physical defense down 3 and range vulnerability 2. To top it all off, she also comes with a Luccia leader skill, increasing the damage and piercing damage against enemies with nature protection by 10% and an extra 10% if this protection is being negated. I guess it's the class icon being broken on the enemies, while also adding +1 alert or strike back counts and an attack buff based on the number of alerts and strikebacks available, 4% per stack up to 20, and if these stacks exceed 4, another 20% attack. Dear Mother of Power Creep, looks like we're starting on a pretty strong foot, and despite alerts not being that great of a damage source since you're leaving them at the enemy's turn or their mercy, the leader skill alone and the nature guard break might be strong enough features to put her on a fairly high priority. I might come back to this depending on what the next units look like though. Next up, Alexi goes home and gets an SP version. Turning into a destroyer, his trait grants him the advanced ignore guard effect, ignoring 40% of the enemy defense, as well as his nature guard. He counters and has some lifesteal, and when he's supposed to die, he transforms into a bear, gaining unlimited resolve and consuming a stack of bloodthirst each turn to prolong this state. Increased health, damage, changes to his skill bar, kind of a monster, and we're only at his trait. The bear transformation seems to be a mechanic he has free access to outside of being knocked out. Power of the Wild Bear is an AoE jump instant attack that inflicts ice damage, then transforms him. Berserk Battle Spirit gives him more stack of Bloodthirst, and 2 extra counters, up to 4 per round with Anna. AoE attacks, AoE counters, and a customizable skill bar depending on the human form build. All pretty interesting stuff. Buff-wise, he only has some self HP and attack ones, nothing on crit, but he seems more like a sturdy damage dealer, like Camelot, than anything else. The Shockwave skill that lets him deal damage to enemies near random object also seems quite cool. There is, however, a noticeable lack of substitute, so you have to leverage your positioning in order to proc all his counters and try and not leave other possible targets near him. Likely high priority unless something even crazier comes out. And as I say that, here comes Rognida. Don't me Viking Bummy whose thighs I need my skull crushed between. She gains stacks of lion blood after rejection, up to 10, and once she gets there, she goes Super Saiyan and has a literal spirit bomb skill.
Luccia no chi o een nare!
Absolute cinema. Take my money. Jump and climb for movement, advanced ignore guard like the rest of the Lucians, personal attack buffs and instant skill with switches to advanced modes for more casts, golden blonde stacks. She can create ice style and push enemies for collision damage. Her reaction lets her perform a preempt up to twice per turn, after which she moves back and creates even more ice styles, and she has a whole overthrow damage mechanic with which she stores excess damage to add it to her next attack. Strangely enough, she's a staff user and all her damage is magical, and if the Nature Guard effectively shuts down non-Lucian units, there may be some problems bringing magic defense down 3 characters to support her. For the time being, however, I'm absolutely smitten. Wife tier, and if I have to skip Alexi, I think I might. Following her up, Ulia, a cute little goat with puppy eyes. Apparently a seeker, but through their support, she can summon props on the field, with many different effects. Her snowman keeps spawning fruits and shards of ice. Fruits heal allies for 60% HP, while also granting random level 2 buffs, while the ice shards can be picked up and stacked in order to be spent as an extra attack that deals piercing damage. Her reaction gives her a passive plus 200 speed, sending her straight to 366, making her the second fastest unit in the game, and she can also buff speed 2 to multiple allies or speed 3 to a single one. Another passive adds crit 2, crit damage 2 buffs to all allies who pick up her fruits, and if these are Lucians, also adds crit conversion, adding 20% of the unit crit rate to their crit damage up to an extra 15%, as well as Sugar Overload, a stackable crit rate buff, 15% per stack, up to 3 stacks. Heshan is not feeling so good right now. Up to 75% crit rate, 45% crit damage for her fellow Lucians is kind of crazy, and I'm no longer wondering why the rest of the units have no innate crit stats or buffs. They're all here. Lastly, she can summon a giant snowball and roll it onto the enemies like the boulders we love so much. A pretty incredible support, would put her higher in priority than even Anna. Also, if all the clutter she spams around can trigger Alexi's shockwaves, we're in for a pretty broken combo. Next up, Ivan, the founder of the Lucian Empire. 180 speed destroyer whose damage is counted as magical, comes in with massive AoEs inflicting freeze and frostbite, locking enemies in place and preventing teleports and charges. His icy aura freezes the ground he walks on, while also freezing enemies who didn't get to move. The attack skills are long-range 3x5 nukes who also apply frostbite, and he comes in with some knockback as well. After casting a 3 energy cost skill, he also gets an extra turn and an energy discount for his next cast, allowing him to spam even more frostbite. The second turn being a skill passive rather than being locked to his straight is also a real godsend. His reaction is a heavy damage reduction, up to 60% based on the amount of frostbite stacks on the attacker, and he gets even more crit rate and damage for himself. Strangely enough, another unit that doesn't seem to make good use of Anna's leader skill, outside of his stats and damage. But damn, each new unit seems better than the last. I don't know how good freezing tons of enemies is going to be, since freeze makes them immune to physical damage, but I guess it'll work just fine with Rognida. I'm listing him on maybe solely for the fact that I might not have enough pools after being bled dry by the previous units, but with a little bit of luck, I hope I'll be able to pick him up as well. Coming up next, Finn, the one and only tank of the version. Much like Faisal, he carries a bow and looks like he's a trapper with a pet wolf. He can summon ice traps all over the field, which interrupt and prevent enemies from moving, and can upgrade these traps to deal some AoE damage. The wolf is also a controllable unit with its own skill set, able to deal pierce damage, place more traps, or flat out detonate the ones present. In terms of utility, they can carry a substitute and some damage reduction buffs, while the wolf can get a resolve proc, and Finn himself can revive at full HP once per fight. The traps deal piercing damage, and they also have pierce vulnerable too, leaving them in a damage class of their own. No proper buffs or support, defense scaling, and a real expensive skill cost, 5 energy for the AoE trap. We might have found the first skippable unit of Luccia.
この無知が血を吸いたいってさ。私たちは最後まで勝ち続けなくちゃ。
A red fox? Whipping people around? It's no secret I have a huge weakness to redheads, and that maniac smile is doing something weird for me. Now look, I'm not a furry. I swear I'm not a furry. Sena joins the roster as a breaker with jump and climb. She's another pierce damage dealer whose kit revolves around planting seed thorns and bleeds, increasing the damage over time the enemy take across the entire field. She has a resolve proc in her trait and trades some of her health on each hit in order to spread more bleeds around. She can steal energy from the enemy, and her normal attack can apply vulnerable to and pierce vulnerable to. Normal attacks that she can perform as counters after being attacked. This hit turns the enemy's carry, explode on hit, and transfer from one target to the other after their deaths. On top of this, bleeding enemies will have their damage reduced, while also increasing the damage that they take. That's already more team support than Finn brings, and despite her AoE having a weird star range, wife tier. Or I might have spoken too soon, cause she's followed by SP Agatha, and I recognize a Monster Hunter longsword when I see one. She accumulates sharpness stacks each turn, or with some skill casts. These can then be used to cast her trait skill, Winter Polaris, a 200% damage nuke in a 4 tiles semicircle in front of her. Before attacking, she inflicts defense down 2 and gains attack 2. And after this cast, she can move again and gains 1 stack of Gathering Edge. Gathering Edge gives her block and lets her perform an AoE counterattack against all enemies in a 3-tile square when hit. This can stack up to 4 times. Her trait also lets her apply up to 2 stacks of wound to her enemies, each reducing incoming healing by 50% and increasing the damage that they take. After casting Winter Polaris, Chasing Blade becomes available for use. This is a selector skill that also allows for a second cast. Bolt Front allows her to gain an extra turn upon killing an enemy, and this also comes with 3 more stacks of sharpness, some energy gain and cooldown reduction. The passive itself has a 3-turn cooldown, but nothing a Convallaria flag can't fix. A possible second build for her is a passive one revolving around alerts and counters. Ambush does no damage, but only prepares for a Polaris cast, which is then automatically used whenever the enemies proc her Gathering Edge. If she still has more stacks of sharpness after this cast, the preparation restarts. Sadly, trying to control enemies is an annoying and grueling task, so an aggressive damage build is likely preferred. SP Agatha also got a bit of flack for not having a proper ultimate animation, it's in her skin, and the fact that she's a bit underwhelming to use against bosses. Personally, I'm also surprised at the lack of another leader skill, but I do like her mobility, range and extra actions. Plus, it's Agatha, wife. The last unit on Luccia will be Arman, the Golden Lion. Gramps is a support with a unique energy mechanic, stacking up to 7 and can consume it all to boost some of his skill effects. Some of his skills can apply a smash to the enemies, which increases the damage that they take for the next hit. Despite being a destroyer, he also gains jump and climb. His main feature is the absolute protection buff he can gain for himself or give to allies, completely negating a single instance of incoming damage, non-damage over time. His skills deal pierce damage, and like Rognida, there's an overflow mechanic that also increases the damage they can deal. He also has a passive which grants all allies within 3 tiles Regen 3, all level 2 buffs, while inflicting all enemies with attack down 2 and all level 2 debuffs. On the supporting side, on top of the absolute protection, he also grants physical and magical defense 3, as well as a reduction to damage over time. Apparently his damage isn't much to write home about, and his release feels a bit underwhelming for the Luccian conclusion, which led to many a post complaining about his usefulness. However, that may be a chance that is going to become pretty useful for some endgame hard content, and since he is 6 months away, we'll get to know in advance. Now, he'll sit on maybe, but there's rumors the next arc will be the Papal States, and if they abandon the Nature Guard mechanic, Luccians will likely drop in usefulness quite a bit. Looks like Luccia will be a trip and a half. All its units will have Frosty Tile immunity, but any non-Luccian will need Yennefer or Marseille to traverse the new stages. The Nature Guard protection increasing enemy defenses will also be a bit of a burden on all non-Luccians, but I guess that's one way to force people to pull for the new meta. The Nob. Almost everyone seems pretty damn solid, but I can't have everyone on high priority. I'm currently sitting on 150 pools, which should become 230 by the time Heshan comes out, and 275 on Shanaz release day. Shanaz remains my main priority, and I want to keep 180 pools for her. This does leave only 140 for Heshan, but after Ulia, I'm honestly having second thoughts. When it comes to Luccia, just with the monthly card, I should be able to hit the 180 guarantee for 3 units. Thankfully, however, the gacha is pretty chill, and the average amount of pulls required to get a new character is never that high. My highest expense has been 130, my lowest ranged from 10 to 30. The real average should be 75 pulls, but a little bit of luck actually got me down to 65. Still, RNG can be a bitch sometimes, and it never hurts to be prepared, so let's see if I can knock some of these units down a peg or two. Enna's leader skill specifically buffs alerts and counters, affecting Alexi, Rognida, Sena and Agatha, all units I would love to pick up, so she joins the ranks too. Alexi seems like a powerhouse. It's like getting Camelot at the start of the patch. He can't get the wife tag, but he should be the main pool of the entire version. Hype plus? Rognida has me hyped as hell, but at the end of the day, all she does is damage. If the gacha collaborates, I would love to pick her up, otherwise I can give priority to other units. Ulia's crit buffs are way too big to ignore and she can litter the map with items. She keeps the hype. Ivan walks his own road without alerts and counters, but a whole permafrost mechanic locking enemies in place. Again, freeze makes them immune to physical damage, so Ivan will likely want Rognida, Ulia, Sena and Arman on his team. Good as he may be, if the pools are tight, I would rather focus on a physical damage team with defense down and vulnerability debuffs. He's a big maybe. Finn. And now the big choice. Sena or Agatha. Agatha is giving me very hard SP Reiwa vibes, and I dig all the movement and extra actions. However, Sena is just hotter and brings two vulnerabilities. Arman remains a maybe. I want to see what's coming in the next version, and he'll likely have to leave the place to the new chapter units. In conclusion, if I could only pick up 4 units in the future, this would be Shanaz, Alexi, Ulia and Sena. If RNGesus can accompany me and I can stick around the 75 pulls average for a new unit, I should be able to pick up everyone except Kianshir, Finn and Arman. While I was there, I also took the opportunity to go take a peek at the next Tower of Adversity. Surprisingly enough, Akambe was still there in the top half, accompanied by Shanaz, Agatha, Afra and Tristan, while the bottom half had the first 4 Lucians, plus SP Nanna and Iserind. If they do another Skamcha pick, I might have to get myself an Akambe, or that will be the 3rd tower I won't be able to score higher specifically cause it's missing from my account. Alright then, I guess that's it for me for the moment. All that's left of me is to wish you good luck with your pulls and thank you for sticking around for so long. Let me know down in the comments which characters you're looking forward to the most, and I'll catch you around soon. Ciao!
Cause he 几度路过。